Alright, well, greetings from a beautiful spring day here in Pennsylvania. And I'm going to be starting a new series on wild, edible, and medicinal plants. Something I've been thinking about doing for a while, and I think today is the day we're going to start it. I have had made videos in the past, but I think I deleted those videos. I was going to redo them. I never quite got to it, but today's the day. Alright? And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about purple Deadnettle. Interesting name. It's a pretty plant though. And we don't have to look far for it because it grows pretty much everywhere this time of year. This is early April, early spring. I actually see some right now. So I'm going to turn you around in a moment and show you what purple Deadnettle looks like. And then we'll talk about some different properties of it, edible and medicinal. So right here just off the trail you should see all these purple splashes of color. This is purple Deadnettle. It's a spring flower, so you only see it this time of year. All the beautiful little purple flowers. And sometimes it covers whole fields in early spring, and the whole field just has a purple look. It's just growing all along the trail here. Beautiful splash of purple. I'm going to find a place to sit, and we'll talk a little bit more about this plant and eat some for you as well. So we looking at purple Deadnettle in this episode. I kind of use these for teaching sometimes, like my math classes. The kids, these make nice little whiteboards or chalkboards for the kids to use to solve math problems and stuff. But anyway, we're out here for wildflowers, not geometry and stuff. But purple Deadnettle, so the name, purple should be obvious. The flower is purple. Then the name Deadnettle. Well, it's in the nettle family, and when you often think of nettles, you think of things like stinging nettles that you might experience if you're walking through the woods. But where does the name dead come from? Because the plants are obviously alive. They're growing all around me. I'll show them to you again in a moment. I'm kind of surrounded by these purple flowers. Oh, and the bees. This is early spring, and the bees love these flowers, and they're actually really beneficial for the bees because they're one of the first flowers to bloom in early spring, and as you can see, they bloom in proliferation, so it's good for the bees. Anyway, back to Deadnettle. The phrase dead just refers to a nettle that doesn't sting you. So any type of a dead nettle will not have those little stingers on it that cause irritation to your skin. So that's what a dead nettle means. And like with most wild plants, this plant goes by several other common names, like instead of purple Deadnettle, sometimes it's called red Deadnettle. I also saw it's called purple archangel. Not sure why it's called that. And there's some other names too for it depending on where you live from. I should also say it's not native to Pennsylvania or to the United States. It is a native of Europe. It was one of those plants, one of the many plants that was introduced to the States over the years. Scientific name, Lamium purpureum. Of course, the purpureum would be purple in Latin, and the lamium or lamium just refers to nettle family in the Latin. So we are going to talk a little bit about, I guess we'll do the edible portion of this video first, and we'll talk about some medicinal properties as well. I do want to take you off the tripod and just show you what I'm surrounded by here. It's really pretty. So I'm just sitting in this little field here, and I'm surrounded by these purple flowers. There I got my little tripod set up with my whiteboard, and I'm just kind of surrounded. Not as many over here, but it is beautiful when they're in bloom like this, just covering vast areas. Alright, I'll get you back on the tripod and we'll talk about some edible qualities of the purple Deadnettle. So the plant is indeed edible. The leaves are kind of fuzzy, but you can eat the leaves. You can cook them too. I've eaten them both raw and cooked, but we'll eat some raw ones right here. There's nothing great tasting about them. Might be a slight minty taste sometimes, but of course if you cook them, sometimes they do taste a little better cooked or taste a little strong, but these are not strong tasting. Nothing special, but Nothing bad either, but yeah, if you needed a quick snack to eat, I guess it would work. You probably shouldn't eat too many though. We'll talk about that in a moment when we talk to the some of the medicinal properties. If you eat too many of the leaves, you could have issues. Not life-threatening issues, but some awkward issues. And some people put the leaves in salads and stuff, things like that. And you can make a tea from the leaves as well, but that's more of a medicinal tea, which we'll talk about as well. All right. Yeah, not bad. Like, it's not as bad as some of the edibles I'm going to try in this series. Some of the edibles, maybe shouldn't be edible, but we'll try them anyway. Like, I'm looking right in front of me some wild garlic, which I'll probably do a video on this day as well. And over there is something called garlic mustard, dinner plant that you can eat, and maybe some other things. But anyway, I'm getting off track. So I'll come back to you in a moment and we'll talk about the medicinal properties. And there's quite a few medicinal properties to this humble little plant that are quite interesting actually. All right, one of the things that has been used for medicinally over the years by Native Americans and Europeans is as a poultice for wounds and cuts. You know, poultice is when you take the leaves and kind of crush them up to like a nice little mushy, you put it on the wound. And why does it work well for that? Well, one of its properties is it's an astringent, which means it causes things to constrict, in this case blood vessels. So if you have a bleeding wound or a cut and you were to mush up a bunch of leaves and put them on, it would reduce the bleeding, it would constrict the blood vessels. There are other plants that do that. One of my, there's a plant called yarrow that does that really well. That was actually the first plant, medicinal herb that I ever tried. I'd heard that it did that if you cut yourself and it would stop the bleeding, but you know, you don't always believe stuff like that. But I tried it and it was like, whoa, stop the bleeding just like that. So I was when I was young, in my younger years, my teens, and that's what got me really interested in the medicinal properties of plants and to notice that, wow, it really does work. It's not just like, you know, old wives' tales or Indian legends. You know, medicinal wild plants really do work. There are some other qualities, which I'm going to read off my notes here. One is it's a diuretic, a diaphoretic, and a purgative. Wow, what do those things mean? Well, those things refer to the other effects it can have on your body. And some of these effects I have experienced actually. Let's talk about the purgative. If something's a purgative, maybe I'll write that down for you on the, I'll write down these names for you on my whiteboard. I'll get right back to you. So here I got the names for you on my whiteboard. A purgative, a diuretic, and a diaphoretic. Hopefully I'm saying those right. There's a lot easier ways to say those words for what they mean. A purgative is another way of saying that something is a laxative. Some of the words, it makes you poo. But I guess in medical terms, they don't like to use just the blunt words like that. But yeah, if you eat too much of this, or if you make a tea and drink too much of it, it will make you go. And I have experienced that. In one of my classes that I taught, I had the kids. We went out in the yard at the place I was teaching, and we collected some wild edibles, including some purple dead nettle, and we cooked some of the stuff up and we ate it. And then, of course, we cooked it in water, and then afterwards there was some water left in the pot because it had that greenish color. And the kids, I dared any of the kids to drink it, and they said, well, we'll drink some if you drink it. So I drank some of it, but then they didn't drink any of it anyway. But when I got home later that evening, I had to go. Well, actually, it wasn't in the evening, it was later in the afternoon. I had to go. It is a laxative. But hey, that could be a good thing though. If you need to go, you're struggling to go, eat some purple dead nettle. It'll clean you out. All right, so our second word on that chart, the diuretic, it's similar to the first word, but it refers to another bodily function. In the notes, like the websites use words like works as a kidney discharge, fluid elimination, and excretion from the urinary tract. Well, what do all those mean? Well, purple dead nettle, not only does it make you poo, but it also makes you pee. So but which can also be a good thing, depending on your health condition. Some people, depending on what's going on, they can struggle with that. And if you need to get cleaned out that way, it can be healthy as well. Because your urine is actually, your kidneys filter out the toxins from your blood, including all the waste from your cells and stuff. So urinating is what gets rid of all that waste. So if you're not urinating frequently, you're holding on to waste that you shouldn't. So a diuretic is also a good thing, depending on your health and stuff. And the last word on there, a diaphoretic, just means that it makes you sweat, which is another type of fluid elimination. Because in a way, sweat is similar to urine. It's excretion from your cells, waste material from your cells. So you can think about that for a little bit. That's kind of gross. And the list of medicinal properties for some of these plants can go on and on and on, but just to give you a few others, it's often considered an anti-inflammatory substance, antifungal, and antibacterial as well, which is another reason it works good for wounds and cuts to make as a poultice. There is a similar plant called henbit, which also has these similar purple flowers and a low-growing habit. I'm going to go ahead and show you a picture of Deadnettle, a closer-up picture I took years ago, and a picture of henbit, so you can compare the two. And let me go ahead and show it to you first, and I got a few other things I got to tell you. So showing you this pictures does bring into question, if you're going to ever use wild edibles or medicinal plants, always make sure 100% that you know that what you're using is what you think it is. There's a phrase that we often use with edible mushrooms, when in doubt, throw it out. If you're doubtful that this is purple deadnettle, then don't use it. Right? Don't eat something or use something medicinally if you're not sure what it is. So let me throw that out to you as a caution, as a disclaimer as well. If you do go out to find things, don't base your knowledge entirely on what I say in my videos. Do your own research as well to make sure that you're being safe. Okay? And just one other look at these beautiful little plants. I was talking about that similar plant called henbit. It's purple deadnettle. Doesn't just have purple flowers, but the upper leaves have that purple color to them as well. Henbit doesn't have that. So you're looking for purple deadnettle, look for those purple upper leaves as well, which adds to the whole purpley color of it. It's just beautiful to see. It contrasts beautifully with the green out there. So that'll be it for this video on purple deadnettle. Hope you enjoyed it and found some of the information interesting and helpful. So if you do find it out on your hikes and stuff, go ahead and try to eat some, as long as you identify it correctly. The worst it can do is make you go, I guess. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'm going to go look for a few other edibles here today. It's a beautiful day to make some videos, so I'll see you around.